Welcome to our show, Coffee with Chris. Our mission is to provide you with home care tips, education, and resources to ensure you receive the quality care you deserve in the comfort of your home.
Hello. Welcome.
What
in the
is going
house.
on?
We got Golden Care, Naples, Florida. Adam and Danny.
How's it going?
Good, man. Good to see you.
Good seeing you as well, Chris. Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. You know, these are great partners of mine. I love working with Danny and Adam. They're pioneers in the home care industry. They have a great name out there. If you guys are not following Danny Z and Adam C out there in Golden Care, you guys are missing out because they not only have lots of education that they provide, but also they do it in a fun way too.
You have to keep things fun, interactive, and keep people engaged. I feel like that's the number one goal.
It is. You know, I think that it's important now these days. Everything's so serious with a lot of things that are going on, especially with the COVID crisis. And so we want to concentrate on really is that having like positive spirits and motivating people in the right way. And then not only that, when we're going to go talk about, home care services of a situation a lot of people are really frustrated, depressed, and mad or sad about, is that when they meet you and I or any of us talk about it, that somehow we could shed some light, onto their day.
Most definitely. Yeah, definitely keeping things positive and engaged, right? So that's for sure true.
So I want to welcome everyone to our podcast show, Coffee with Chris. Today we usually talk about home care educational resources, but the topic at hand today is going to be long-term care insurance. What we concentrate on the Coffee with Chris podcast is inspirational messages, education, and resources to help also our family members that are out there and the caregivers that are taking care of also our loved ones. We also have another resource that we offer at a Coffee with Chris podcast is that we have Home Care Empire Consulting. If your family members need consulting services, or if you also want to start your own home care service and need consulting about that, you can contact me. You could DM me on the side. I could help you start up your own home care service and coach you on that as well too. So today, let's get into a really, really, really important topic that a lot of people they have, but they don't use. And that is not Medicare. And I'm not talking about Blue Cross insurance. I'm talking about not life insurance as well, too. We are going to talk about long-term care insurance. You might have it, but you might not sure if your mom and dad have it. Or you're paying on it and you're just dishing it out for like 10, 15, 20 years and not using it the right way. So tell me, guys, I know we all are in the non-medical private duty service. Let's share to the world, what is long-term care insurance in your eyes, and what type of things are you seeing and challenges are you facing?
Chris, first of all, I just want to thank you for having us. I mean, Coffee with Chris is super exciting. I got my coffee where I am. I know you're drinking some coffee right
Danny,
now.
where's your coffee?
I've got it right here.
It's Coffee with Chris and Adam.
Yes.
That's great. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Adam, we lost you. Adam will come back.
He will come back, yes, but we talked about initiating the conversation about long-term care insurance. He's back again. Here he is.
Awesome.
I'm sorry. I should know better from trying to do this on my phone because the amount of phone calls that I get is actually absurd.
I can't imagine. Honestly, if I look like you, Adam, I'd be calling you all day too.
Well, I mean, the topic at hand, long-term care insurance, seriously is such a passion of mine. And Danny and I have been focusing on long-term care insurance for good over 2 years now. And actually, even right when COVID happened, I actually took the opportunity of going back and getting some coursework done. And I'm actually certified in long-term care insurance. Although I'll never sell the product ever in my entire life, I promise you that. I want to be educated enough to help people do this entire process. There's about 12% of individuals actually hold a long-term care insurance policy. I would say a good portion of them don't necessarily know when and how to use it. So that's our job, is to really be a resource during that time to help them navigate through their policy. Typically what we get all the time is people griping about their premium increases, right? We're
Yeah.
seeing sometimes 20, 30, 40% increases year over year, which is absurd. And they're getting so upset. But we really have to zone in on the big topic here, is how much does care cost? I mean, Chris, you know just as well as I do, home care support and assisted living, memory care, skilled nursing facility costs are not cheap.
No.
So if you were one of that 12% that was smart and educated to protect yourself, protect your income with this type of insurance product, you better put it to use, right? My personal story is my grandmother invested over $70,000 into a long-term care insurance policy and never used it.
Well,
Okay, so I look at these opportunities of giving back to the community and helping people understand how and when to use it, and really navigating through that policy, because that stack of papers from 1993, right? It can be very confusing trying to revisit that policy. So Golden Care, Danny and myself, we go into the home and we actually do complimentary in-home LTC reviews. Danny, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, like you're saying, just to jump on that, to help them understand, like, before jumping on this live, we're, briefly talking about the long-term care insurance and how some of these terminologies used within the paperwork of that policy, and the terms are so convoluted. The representatives often, at times, to say for the majority of the time, they're in the business of collecting money. They're not in the business of, calling you up and telling you, hey, you've paid into this service. It's time for us to pay you back. They're going to make it complicated, definitely not easy for you to get those benefits you've already paid into. So, we have this passion of helping individuals understand that policy and help them walk through it, right?
yeah. If you when you say the average with the rate where we're paying, we're the company's reimbursing us, is that what's the average percentage that the long-term care insurance covers? So like say like we charge $30 per hour. Like what is typically do you see the long-term care insurance reimbursing of that 30?
Well, and that's where it gets a little bit tricky, right? Because every single long-term care insurance policy is different. I mean, I've literally sat down with a husband and a wife, and they had completely different policies. So there's so many different ways that they can be reimbursed. But we do a lot of education on this. So Chris, so when you're talking about reimbursement, we usually go and review those documents. The thing you want to look for is your schedule of benefits. Your schedule of benefits within your documents is what's going to explain how much money is covered, typically on a daily basis. So I'll just give you a scenario. I met with the family just last week down on Marco Island here in Florida, and they actually both have policies through John Hancock. Now, their policy covers up to $320 per day. Wow. So you do the math. That's wow. That's up to over 10 hours of care if you're talking at a home care agency that's charging $30 an hour.
Yeah.
So really, there's so many factors that come into it, depending on what the agency is charging, what the policy is covering. In most cases, I'll be honest with you, a lot of families don't take advantage of their full daily benefit amount. Like for instance, that family, they have over, in our cases, our costs are $26 an hour. So they have well over 10 hours, 12 hours a day of care, and they're only utilizing us for 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
So I look at those opportunities like, why not maximize on the benefit? You have, and their total bucket of money, they had over $700,000.
Yeah. That's like a unicorn policy.
Exactly.
Yeah, and walk me through the process now. Like if now, obviously, you and I, all of us know the process, but the people that are listening here, it's going to be nationally around the world. People are going to be hearing this. So it's going to be very important. And I just want to do one thing as plug is that if you're in Florida, you guys have to call Golden Care and call Danny Z, Adam. If you're listening to this, if you have questions, I only want you guys to make sure you consult with them. You don't have to go with them. You don't have to work with them. You just have to call and ask them. They got other partners they can refer you to. So I just wanted to know that. And of course, you always can consult me here in Michigan. But like, let's walk family members through the process now. Like now your mom and dad, that they have the policy. What's the first step now you know that they have the policy? What advice you're going to give a family member to get that going and started?
So my biggest word of advice is to sit down with someone who's knowledgeable about those policies, because you want to understand a little bit more about what that coverage is. The one thing is you might have the documents from 20 years ago. They might be way outdated. So the first thing I would do is I would either consult with someone like ourselves or find someone who is knowledgeable. And if not, if you're looking at doing this on your own, call the company, call the provider. Common providers are like Genworth, John Hancock, Transamerica, MetLife. I mean, there's several out there.
Life.
Mm-hmm. So I would call that company and ask for an updated schedule of benefits. That's going to give you your real-time daily allowance, your real-time total bucket of money that you have access to, and find out if you have an elimination period. So an elimination period is the amount of time that you have to pay out of pocket before the insurance company actually kicks in. So that's an important factor, because especially in scenarios where someone has, a 90-day or 120-day elimination period, you want to make sure you shrink your out-of-pocket cost. So, I mean, initiating a claim early on before care needs get too bad is something that we highly suggest.
Yeah.
And just to add to that, Adam, I think most importantly, before even having these conversations, when a situation happens, most importantly, I think we highly recommend to review these documents before. Start asking those questions now. If you have your grandparents, your grandmothers, your mom, dad, start asking those questions to see if they have these documents in place. If they're fortunate enough to have purchased these policies 25, 30 years ago, it's better to understand those benefits now. Get through calling with the company, an updated policy, understanding that elimination period, the daily maximum benefit, daily maximum benefit, or the lifetime maximum benefit, to understand what they're really going to be covered for.
Yeah, so exactly. So how this is going to work is that they're going to go ahead and check in their policy. They're going to see if they have an elimination period. So this elimination period, obviously, if it's like 90 days, it wouldn't be behoove them to have like 24/7 care, 12 hours of care when they know they have to pay out of pocket. So I know a lot of the family members, we kind of say is like, listen, what's your minimum amount of hours? And will this match up to the actual safety of your loved one? If you're okay with for 90 days being okay with the minimum amount of hours paying out of pocket, you're going to benefit that when it's time to be able, after the 90 days, you can increase your hours. And we go off with the ADLs. You can increase your hours, but maybe the family members have to kick it in and be able to help for a little bit of amount of time. What you're trying to say is that once the time after your private pay, then you could talk about increasing your hours and utilizing your benefit a little bit even more. Am I on point with that, or did I miss anything in between?
No, you're right on point. And it's also, when it comes down to the elimination period, it's important to ask the questions. Is the elimination period, let's just say 90 days, is it service days or is it calendar days? That's a huge question, because you want to know if you're bringing in home care support, let's just say 3 days out of the week, right? You obviously, it's in your favor if that does count for a full 7 days. If not, you might have to have full 90 service days. I actually had a client not too long ago who actually hired us for 3 days a week to come in for 1 hour visits, really to just satisfy that elimination period. Because on that 91st day, they're going to get access to $270 per day of care. So it was very smart and strategic on their part to bring in care on a minimal basis, get through those 90 days, And then on that 91st day, they became benefit rich, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Anything to add to that, Danny? You were going to say?
I think in addition to that, in understanding what qualifies a specific client for those benefits of, tapping into the policy they paid into, if you want to touch on that, what is an ADL? I think that's important for the audience to really understand and digest all this information.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll explain a little bit about activities of daily living. So when your loved one is going to go ahead and get a long-term care insurance policy, you need to understand that you and I explain it as normal, is that you and I can wake up, get out of bed, get dressed, and take care of ourselves. We can brush our teeth, shave, and go down and grab breakfast, and remember to take our meds. Activities of daily living is kind of like that. It's your normal activities that you and I can do, but you are failing at that, and you see your loved one failing at one of those tasks that I just listed. And of course, we have to add in mobility, physical activity, and mental status. So once we start to see any of those things that you and I can do at a normal day, now, like, granted, I'm not, great. I forget things all the time. I trip over my own feet all the time. You know what I mean? Like I don't forget to brush my teeth. But I definitely take a shower, every single day. But at the same time, is that maybe I don't dress, maybe I don't match sometimes certain days. You know what I mean? I need a dress coordinator. But so I'm just saying, no one's perfect. But at the same time, when you see your mom and your dad really truly failing at this on a constant repetitive basis, that's what activity of the daily living is. You're noticing that the normal things that you and I can do, that it's not consistent, and they're not doing it every single day. And we won't go into mental status and dementia and all that. I think another topic. You and I, all of us, will talk about that. But that's just something that obviously, if they're going into a room and they're not remembering what room they're in, or if someone's walking into a room that they completely know who they are, if they're son or daughter or friend, they just don't remember their name. This is obviously a huge sign of dementia. And that's again, I said, that's another topic. So that's a little bit of what I feel like activities of daily living. And I'd love for everybody to hear how you guys feel what ADLs are.
Yeah, and the insurance companies, they define ADLs as just as you said, and more specifically, most policies require at least assistance with 2 of the 6 ADLs. Those 6 activities of daily living would be support with transferring, which would essentially be help in and out of a chair, on and off the toilet, in and out of a car or bed, wheelchair. Okay. Assistance with bathing, okay, which is in the shower. Assistance with dressing, okay, so that would be after the shower, obviously getting changed with either clothes on, even as little as getting help putting socks on, okay, so that would be dressing. Toileting support, incontinence care. All right, so if anyone's having any issues with toileting or incontinence care, those are 4 and 5. And the last one would be eating. Eating is typically the last ADL that I would essentially initiate a claim on, because eating could be confused. And I'll tell you a quick story, just because I think this is super important for the listeners. I had a client call their long-term care insurance company to activate a claim, and she said, well, I need help eating. And her perception of eating was help in help cook meals or grocery shopping. Now, in simple terms, that's considered help with eating. But the long-term care insurance companies, when they hear eating, they mean, can you take a fork, stick it into the chicken, and put it to your mouth? I mean, so that's a whole different ball game. So she kept on calling the insurance company. And the insurance company said, well, can you take your fork and put the food to your mouth? And she goes, well, of course I can. Well, she goes, well, then you can't activate a claim against your policy. Well, whoa, let's hold the phone. The woman also have several falls throughout the past month. I mean, there's so many different things that come down to this. And so I think it's important to really just do your homework and make sure you just fully understand. And if not, get someone who can help advocate for you.
Yeah, wow. So you're just giving me a lot of memories of all the assessments I've done on that. And people really, really do forget when they talk to the long-term care insurance is that I'm not long-term care insurance companies don't get mad at me, but listen, they do find a way to not make it work sometimes because they're not home care experts. They're not ADL. They're ADL trained, but they're not caregivers. You know what I mean? Like they're not doing what we do. We don't know. They don't really have home care expertise. So, like you said, all right. So, well, they maybe they could eat on. They said that she could eat. You know what I mean? But like for example, one of the ADLs is that what if she is a fall risk, right? But what about 24 hours of the day? There are times during the day where their family members can't tend to them. So, you know what I mean? Even if they maybe possibly could eat on their own, maybe there's a limitation on one of the ADLs that maybe a family member is not there. So humanistically is that, come on, like I can't be with my mom. I know that I could be there in the morning, but I can't be there in the afternoon. But I know that when she needs to go to the bathroom, most of the time it's in the morning. I can't be there in the morning. She's incontinent. You know what I mean? So like sometimes they just need to understand the full picture of actually what's going on, and they kind of add it all up, So, and I think that what's important too is the family members to do is the first consult a home care company. Don't try to do it on your own. Don't call the insurance company first. Call the home care company first because what we're going to do is we're going to coach you. You're supposed to be your coach. We're going to tell you the questions that they're going to ask you. You know what I mean? It's important for you to understand that because if you do answer them wrong, unfortunately, you've been paying on this whole policy. A lot of family members we've met, right? And they say like the insurance company didn't approve me. But then we ask them what questions did they ask you, and then what were your responses? You know what I mean? So obviously that it's something that is important, and we're not trying to tell you like the wrong answer whatsoever. But also too is you have to be able to tell them actually exactly. The whole picture. Don't give them a piece of the puzzle of what's going on. And so if you were to now let's go further into the process. They know about the elimination period. All right. So they consulted their home care company. They know that possibly they have to come out and do an assessment. Right. And so what happens now when you guys go out and you meet the family members and you have to talk to them and do a home assessment? What does a home assessment entail?
Right. So it's multifaceted because at the end of the day, I mean, in some cases, the long-term care insurance companies are going to do their own assessments. And what we've seen in the past year is that they're actually doing them. I don't know if it's still the case right now, but they're doing them electronically, which honestly is to that person's benefit. Now, I'm not saying to false.
That's a little connection of Adam. Just a little bit. Danny, are you there? Okay.
Can you see me? Yeah.
Yep. He was talking about the electronic process.
Yeah. So a lot of the families right now, they're expecting with these long-term care insurance policy providers, they're actually outsourcing a nurse to come out and do that assessment instead of doing it in person throughout COVID. They were doing it electronically. And I think where Adam was trying to get to is it was working towards that client's benefit. Often within this assessment that the nurse is doing, they're looking for those ADLs to see if you really do need support in transferring, if you really do need support, if you really are incontinent, just to make sure that what you're saying as far as fulfilling those ADLs that you can qualify for if you're not, trying to game the system.
Yeah. But I think though, what I know that I was trying to get to is that they need the home care assessment too.
As well. So
like you and I or whoever our representatives of our team still has to go out and say like, this is the ADLs that we see.
Right.
So
the plan of care it's definitely something that the insurance company is going to look at, right? So they're going to be able to see if the assessment that we're doing in person during that home visit, if we are actually highlighting that the person really does need support in transferring, if that person needs support in bathing, or if that person is really incontinent, they are going to be looking for these tasks that are taxing effort for that said client.
Exactly. Yeah. So so obviously we have to match up and make sure that we're on the same team. But I think that obviously it is what it is. The family members, when they get to the point where they do need to tap into their long-term care insurance policy, we get a good consensus that it's probably time to obviously start with minimum hours, and always remember, like, you don't have to start right away with a lot, but then
Right.
over is that now there's a chance that their policy, say, like, let's put a number out there, $200,000 is in their policy. Some of our family members can be up way more than that. I think before even our call, during the beginning of our call, you said $700,000 policy, right? But
Right.
is there an opportunity that a family member can use it but then lose it after they pass? There's some left over.
Right. So, with these different policies, and every policy is just different, and how what's structured in it. We've seen policies where there's a beneficiary of that policy. Your husband, your wife could actually take some of that money and use it, right? Or, like, Adam was saying earlier, we often see that if you don't use that policy, you end up losing everything, right? Or you only use a set amount, and then if you end up passing, that's all you had, right? There's
Yeah.
nothing that's going to go out to your kid or your wife or husband.
Yeah. Yeah. So exactly. So it's all individual based. So it's good for everybody just to understand, is like, look into your policy and exactly read the finer details. Because it could say that if you don't utilize it, then you just don't, able to use it.
And
or it might say your spouse can use it too.
Right.
Yeah. That's good. I think that I see a lot of confusion with that with family members, and they don't even have no clue about what their policy is.
And I mean, and to add to that, Chris, as far as, we spoke about reviewing that policy before, one thing that's really important is, and I know you did mention earlier, as far as consulting with the home care representative, so we can coach you on those specific steps to take before you contact the insurance company. One thing to understand when reviewing that policy is if that significant other has signed up for an inflation rider. What that means often is the set amount for the daily benefit amount may state $120 or $200, but they enrolled in that inflation rider, it could be much greater than what it's printed on the original policy.
Okay, explain inflation rider to everybody.
Right. So the inflation rider, it's accounting the cost of inflation 5% often we see, Adam.
Yeah. So I mean, typically when you purchase a policy, you have the option to elect into different riders. The most common rider in a long-term care insurance policy is going to be the inflation rider. In most cases, they're going to give you options of either like a 3%, 2%, 3%, or 5%, which is extremely important because, and I'll tell you why. Someone who purchased the policy 20 years ago, right? I literally had a husband and wife, both had policies. One of the wife elected into the inflation rider, and the husband did not. So they both bought the same exact policy that covered them for $80 a day. The person who did not elect into the inflation rider still has coverage just for $80 a day. The person who did elect into the inflation rider at 5% compounding over 20 years, that benefit is much greater, right? So we're looking at that policy covering over $200 a day. So what you'll typically see is when you do elect into an inflation rider, your premiums will be a little bit higher. But again, if you're purchasing a policy with intentions of using it not for the here and now, right, for the future, you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself with general inflation.
That's good advice. I don't think a lot of people understand that, so it's good for you to. I don't think a lot of the agents, sometimes I think they maybe explained it to them like 20 years ago, and they've been paying on their policy and totally forgot about that, So that'll be good for everyone to resonate. So like let's talk about the average age. Like, what is the typical average age? Like, I'm 37. But I'm in the home care industry, so like I understand the value of, like, I know when my kids need my services. If I have long-term care insurance, they don't have to bear the fact of that, of the cost of the care and deciding on what they need from me. for the caregiving services. And so like what's the average age usually typically someone gets a long-term care insurance policy now?
We actually did a panel discussion just yesterday here in Naples. Where we had a financial advisor as one of the panelists, and I asked the same exact question: what's the magic number? He kind of joked and said anything over 20 years old. I think that's a little bit too young. I mean, in all honesty, because then you could essentially be paying premiums on for 60 years. But I think the reality is I've spoke to other financial advisors before, and they've indicated that somewhere into the mid to late 40s is probably ideal. Obviously, a good rule of thumb: the younger you are, the more affordable it's probably going to be. But I mean, that's not to say. I know people who've tried to get long-term care insurance in their 60s, and the premiums were just outrageous. So, yeah, you want to do it. I look at you. I would say if I were you, I mean, if you saying someone who's younger like us, in their 30s, I would go and get a quote maybe every couple of years to kind of see what the trajectory is and the different premium costs, because at the end of the day, I look at the risk analysis. I'm here 33 years old. If I could pretty much ensure that my premiums are going to be the same exact they are right now, at that they're going to be at 38 or 39 or 40, I'm probably going to hold off a little bit. So I don't think it's a bad idea to run an analysis every couple of years to just see what the premium costs are looking like.
Yeah, that's really great advice. So, I know a lot of people my age, they really take it for granted for their being independent and being healthy and all that. But like, I just see like that, I know that they don't think about getting married and having kids, and then one day their kids are going to bear the decision making of actually paying for their loved one, and then it's too late. It's too late. But we don't think of that as life insurance though. Like, when we're young, like when we're making some money and we got a good job, then we start so putting some coin in the bank and start saving, and then we start doing a little investing, and then we start thinking about life insurance. What happens if we pass away? And then, that way we have some protection. But like long-term care insurance has always been pushed to the side. It's never been so important. It was never really discussed, because I feel like even in the senior community senior citizens are always pushed aside. They're not always, I might just say, we all know is that they don't always get the right care, because of the caregivers, and like the insurance doesn't cover it, and the caregivers what they're getting paid for, but they don't. We put long-term care insurance to the side. But so it's just like life insurance. You have to be healthy, and you're going to go through a test, and someone's going to come out and test you, and if you don't have any pre-medical conditions, it like life insurance, and that the healthier you are, the lower your policy is. Right. I'm assuming. Am I correct about that? Because I know you're a specialist in this.
Yeah, and it is a good rule of thumb. I mean, again, there is some underwriting going on, and making sure, like, some people might disqualify, if you have life events. So at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're doing things proactively, and that's why I think aligning yourself with a financial advisor and insurance specialist that you trust is very important. Again, not someone who's just going to look to take your premiums and to do that, to try to sell you on something, but really protect you.
And also, I think I want to add to this, Adam and Chris. I don't think now, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you were to go and purchase a long-term care insurance policy right now, it may not necessarily look how the ones that they were selling 20 or 30 years ago, with the specific benefits, with the same amount of benefits that are stated on those. So I wanted to add to that. It may not be as beneficial as it once was, right?
Well, and the reality is, honestly, I think the long-term care insurance products that are out now are more consumer friendly. There's a lot of different options. When you looked at long-term care insurance policies 30 years ago, 20 years ago, you had your standard traditional LTC policies where you use it or lose it. Nowadays, you have hybrid policies or even life insurance policies that have long-term care riders that give you a lot of different benefits and options. those hybrid plans are super attractive. You can get a long-term care insurance policy that covers you substantially, but if you don't use it, there's a death benefit. So there's a lot of different options. That's why I think it's super important to get aligned and understand all those options very clearly.
And to add to that, Chris and Adam, one thing we've seen more than once, and it is mind-blowing how easy it is for the insurance company to suggest those clients who've paid this policy, these premiums over the course of 25 or 30 years, often they're suggesting either decreasing their benefits for a dollar amount or just buying out their entire policy. So we highly suggest do not do this. You'll be shooting yourself in the foot if you do, because the cost of care, I often say to those folks who we do help out on a daily basis with these policies, you consider yourself blessed that you enrolled into this policy.
Yeah. Yep. And you got to think of it as, it's an investment to your life, right? Like when we work out, our health is our wealth,
Yeah.
and we're talking about some of these policies are like maybe $20 a month or something.
Yeah.
20, I donate to Lifetime, and it's like $100 some bucks a month. I don't go to the gym for 30 days. I just donated, that 2, 4, 6, 8, 5 months. You know what I mean? Of something that I obviously thought that was good for me, but why can't we do that for something like that, down the line in our life that possibly we're investing? So I think we definitely nailed it on that one. I think everyone understands the value of getting long-term care insurance, and that it's good, important if you're getting a job out there too, is that, see if that's part of your policy as well. Is you're working and out there working hard, you want to make sure you get all your benefits too. So let's talk about a little bit about after now the services are started having the care. Okay. Now the management of the home care company to make sure that the family members are getting paid on their policy. Right. Mm-hmm. So a lot of family members have a couple options where they can say is like, I want to make sure that the insurance company is reimbursing me. But there's some conditions that are involved with that the home care company has to do. We have to send in our invoices. We have to have daily logs of what the activities of what our caregivers are doing. Right. So like the good companies and the ones that are have lots of policies in place, they have these in order right away, and they can discuss that so that way that the family members get paid. Why don't you guys go ahead and talk about that process with you guys? And I know like we and I have similar processes, but how does it work with you guys when you're talking about family members that you're going to insure them that they're going to get reimbursed by the insurance company?
Well, I think it's super important for the listeners to understand that you want to find a home care agency that's reputable, that's going to help you through this whole process, because it's not easy. And when it comes to submitting documents, like Golden Care, we take it upon ourselves to be a huge resource for our families, because we don't want our families to have to worry about faxing in the care notes, faxing in the care logs, getting reimbursed. We want to make the process as easy as possible for them. So our commitment to them is on a weekly basis, we are going to be submitting their invoices and care logs on their behalf. We set that up upon signing up so that there's really nothing for them to worry about. We have a very clean process. We have someone internally in our office that handles that every Monday. And we get the fax confirmations. We ensure that they get it. And then we have on the starting of the admission, we actually have our clients set up an automatic direct deposit right into their bank account. So it's a very clean process. The client pays us, they pay, we submit the documents to them, and they get reimbursed directly into their bank account.
Yep. Now, and we do the same thing too at Affinity, and we actually do mobile logs too. So like the caregivers are submitting their daily log on their phone, and we have a person in the office every day taking those logs. And what we do is we submit it straight to the, if we have an email, of course, that's fine. Or if it's an e-fax, we submit it the same day. So they're getting daily logs on a daily basis. And then our invoices are submitted. So the main thing is that the listeners to understand is that a lot of home care companies will manage your invoices and also the care logs. So you don't have to worry about that. So, that's a lot of a lot to take in when you're trying to figure out when trying to find a home care company. But those are one of the questions that you want to ask when you're trying to find the right home care company is that will you manage make sure that we get paid,
Right.
So obviously you don't want to be providing care and then 2-3 months down the line, and then also too is it's not good for the home care company if they're not managing it right too, because they're not getting reimbursed as well too. So most good companies already have a system. So you just want to kind of hear them say that, hey, we have a system in place. So I really appreciate you guys. Long-term care insurance is going to be really important for everybody to understand that if you do have any questions and anybody in the Florida market that has any long-term care policies that you just want someone to review, is that you guys can count on Golden Care in Naples to be able to you guys can contact them. They can answer any questions you guys have. I'm sure even nationally, around a lot of people are going to be hearing this. You need some consulting. We're available. We're not going to give you our cell phones out here. I'm sorry, but you could DM us on social media and find us, and you can message us, and we'll be glad to help you with that and answer your questions. But I know people where I'm in Michigan and Golden Care's in Florida. We have mutual clients. My Michigan, when it's cold, they're coming to you guys. And then when it gets a little warm, they're coming back over here to their lake house over here in Michigan,
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So, if you know anybody who's traveling or anything like that, we're always glad to help everyone. But any inspirational messages you'd like to send out to the world about home care and what you guys do? I guess I like to end it with, let's first start with Adam. Is how did you get into home care industry? We'll end the podcast with your story. How did you
I got into home care really weirdly. My mom was the director of nursing for a home care agency in New Jersey for, forever. And I grew up in this industry, and I never thought in a million years I would be doing what I'm doing. So I'm very grateful and blessed that I have the opportunity to impact people's lives every day. So that's really my purpose, is being able to help people. So when I entered the industry, I knew this was my home. So it's just one of those things, is finding your purpose. The one thing I will give and I'll leave on a note of being proactive. I can't stress the importance of people being on top of their planning and being very diligent and understanding, communicating all their needs and wishes with their entire family. Every single day, literally throughout this entire podcast, and I apologize, I've been getting calls nonstop, typically going to be for crisis matters, coming out of the hospital today, needing care tonight. These are very challenging situations, not just for the home care agency, but for those families to really have peace of mind that they're going to have help. So don't wait for those crises to occur. Be proactive and get care early on.
Man, that resonates so much. It's so important. I couldn't have said it any better. I tell you right now, as family members, I just did a podcast on this. It's called Hospital to Home, and people, is that the first day that you go into the hospital, the rehab, that's the first day you start talking to a home care and start searching. Don't wait the last 2 days for your loved one, 2 days before, to go out and have a home care company come out, check out the home scene, make sure it's safe, let them start staffing and scheduling a couple of days before. You're probably setting yourself up for failure for that. The first day when they go and get admitted, that's you got maybe possibly 14 to 20 days of research, of finding the right company, and then you're going to be less stress free. Thank you, Adam. That's that's really, really important for people to know when they're choosing home care, and it's important. Now, Danny Z, how did you get into home care?
So I've been in the industry now for about 2 years. I was fortunate enough I met some wonderful people along the way in my early career as a bartender. And they plugged me in with Adam. So fortunate enough to have Adam as my mentor in this industry, who guided me across, navigating these different challenges that we face on a daily basis with dealing with the long-term care insurance and understanding how we can better assist those clients who are looking for that support. So extremely fortunate enough to have Adam by my side to guide me in that process and help me understand in this new industry for me. And as far as words of encouragement, like Adam was saying, be proactive, do your due diligence, really understand what you're going to be covered for, what is that you're expecting, and do your due diligence is definitely important.
Yeah, it is. I couldn't stress that. Right now, I know this morning, you guys would relate is that we had a unicorn case. Thank you, Danny, for that. I think that we need more people like you guys. Is that because I understand is that it doesn't take a person to be able to be successful just because I would say they're going into an industry without having passion and persistence and determination. And like that's what you guys have. Like, and not everybody nowadays has that. Sometimes with home care, you can kind of get frustrated about a lot of the things that happen. But with like when you notice that when you see individuals like you guys, you're on social media and you also are out there and involved with your company, and you really are making a positive impression in home care. So like that's the main thing is, and it also looks like it knows that you guys like what you do, so it's good to jump out of bed and feel that way. So I'm glad to be make I'll just call you guys friends, but yeah, and like one day we'll be maybe golfing together.
Yes. For me, more so like putt, but we'll be out of there in the field.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll go putt.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. Exactly. So I want to thank you guys both for coming in and sharing your long-term care insurance. And I'm just going to let the public know is that we're probably going to be talking about a lot of topics, but I'm going to set the tone right now. Next one we'd like to talk about with you guys would be dementia care. Dementia care is a big thing that a lot of our family members face. And it'll be really good to talk about, a specific, just a little bit of piece of the pie, because there's so much to talk about dementia, but that's something that we would love to be able to touch on and hear your advice on. Welcome to our show, guys, Coffee with Chris. We appreciate you, and we're grateful for everything that you guys do. And again, anybody who has long-term care insurance and you're in the Florida market, you contact Adam C. and Danny Z from Golden Care, Naples, Florida. You could reach out to them on social media. They'll respond to you 24, maybe less than 24 hours. I see him on Facebook, like me, various times of the night, might respond like right away. So
that's it.
We're there for you guys. Thank
you so much. Thank you so much for having us, Chris. Appreciate it.
Man. Thank you, guys. We appreciate you.
Welcome to our show, Coffee with Chris. Our mission is to provide you with home care tips, education, and resources to ensure you receive the quality care you deserve in the comfort of your home.